Hello guys, and welcome back to a long overdue edition of In the Woods and Workshop. So today I want to do a relatively quick review on a cellular trail camera that I have recently experimented with, and it's not a new camera, it's new to me. This is the Moultrie Edge 2 Pro Cellular Trail Camera. I purchased two of these cameras. I ordered them around July 21st of this year, 2025, and they shipped very quickly, and I was already in the process of setting them up within 5 days. And so by July 26th, I was already getting these cameras out in the woods. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, why is the camera sitting here instead of being out in the woods? And if you notice, my other ones were sitting back there. So why are these two cameras not currently out in the woods? I want to start things off on this review by stating the good things about this camera that I experienced. So I just touched on the fast shipping. That was really good. The packaging was really nice, very professional, high quality packaging. And the product itself, I was very impressed with the feel and the weight and such of the camera. It definitely felt far more well built than a lot of the other cameras that I've had experience with that just felt kind of like cheap, lightweight plastic. This really felt really good. So I had high expectations. Additionally, my high expectations were based on the generally good reviews that I had to read on the camera. So I was initially impressed with the video quality. The video was really, really good compared to a lot of my other trail cameras that I've worked with in the past. Really, really pretty picture. Just picked up the colors nice, and I'll show you some of the videos here. I'll have some of the videos that I recorded, very few videos that I recorded, and were able to download on this video as I'm talking here, so you don't have to just constantly look at my ugly mug. Additionally, the sound was much better than I've had experience with in other cameras. Other cameras that recorded audio, most of the time you could barely hear it, or it was just really fuzzy, distorted sounding. This camera, the sound was pretty good. It may not be the best out there in a trail camera, but my experience is the best that I've dealt with so far. The trigger speed additionally seemed to be pretty good. There were only a couple times where I had an animal that crossed the camera one time. Clearly it just was walking by once and not coming back, where it didn't start recording until they were more than halfway through the screen. But I've dealt with that with every single camera, and it could be based on the angle of the camera, and these were smaller animals. Didn't have that effect with the bigger animals like deer. So with all that being said, that's really all I can really say about the good with this camera. Unfortunately, I really, really, really wanted to like this camera, especially given the fact that each camera that I bought two of them. They were about $128 a piece, which isn't horrendous. In fact, if this camera had been a little bit better, this would have been an excellent deal. But let me get into the bads. So I want to first emphasize here that these initial bads could be based on the cellular service that I have in my area. May not be entirely the fault of the Moultrie camera here. But I want to emphasize that I don't have great cell service in the area where I hunt. I am kind of in a relatively remote area of northwestern North Carolina. Lots of mountains all over the place. It's not super remote. There's a lot of people that live around the area, so there is cellular service there. And I'm using Verizon for my cell phone. I use Verizon, and the only way that I can actually get good cell service is if my phone is in roaming mode. And I'm wondering if that had something to do with some of the performance I was getting relating to the mobile app and the camera itself. So first off, when I was setting up the camera, I wanted to do the live aim feature, but I could not do that. The Moultrie mobile app would not come out of offline mode. It kept saying that I was offline, even though my phone, I was able to browse the internet, use other applications. Everything was working nice and fast because my phone was in roaming. No problem. But for whatever reason, the Moultrie app was detecting that I didn't have any sort of internet connectivity. And it's so far the only app I've ever used out in the woods that was giving me that trouble because I was in roaming. So I obviously couldn't set up the live view. Not a huge deal. But this would be just the first of many frustrations to come. The next problem was when I turned the camera on, it was giving me the blinking indicator that it was connecting to the cellular network. And my experience in the past, I've only had one other experience with a cellular trail camera, and that was last year with a Reveal Tacticam. And yeah, it didn't connect immediately, but it connected relatively quick within like a minute or so. These cameras took well over 5 minutes before they finally connected. And because my mobile app was saying that it was in offline mode, I couldn't get any information about like what kind of signal I had or anything. My hunting property is a half an hour away from home, and I wasn't able to actually check that stuff out until I basically got back home. So I did check when I got home, and when my cameras checked in, they were both reporting a weak signal, which was also very different from my experience with the Reveal Tacticam last year, which was telling me I had a strong signal in the area. So I was a bit surprised that it was weak, especially given the fact that my cell phone and everything works just great. Now the caveat, I think, could have something to do with the fact that it's roaming. I'm not entirely sure what network these cameras are using. But I honestly don't know how that part of the thing works, if they use roaming or, whatever. I'm not sure. I did have my camera set to check in once every 6 hours. I had it so that it was only recording video, just 10-second video clips in 1080p. And I had it set so that there'd be 30-second delays between shots. Now, very rarely do I ever have multiple shots taken, because where I typically keep my cameras, they're on paths, trails where game is just walking by. So in almost every single circumstance where I got a video, it was just one shot of that animal walking by. So I wasn't getting a ton of videos. I want to say that I was getting maybe, depending on one of the cameras, I was only getting maybe 1 or 2 videos a day, 4 at the absolute most. The other camera, I might have been getting 8 total videos a day on a good day. It was more like an average of 4. I initially didn't put these in my known very high traffic areas because I wanted to get a good feel for the battery longevity. And so that's the next major issue that I had. Given the fact that on my camera, where I might get as much as 8 videos a day, 8 10-second 1080p videos a day, the 16 batteries that I had in that particular camera were completely drained within 30 days. That is pretty bad. I've had lots of other cameras, non-cellular cameras, and even my Reveal Tacticam camera last year that could record. Well, my Reveal couldn't record that high quality, but my non-cellular cameras can record 1080p no problem, and those things will last for months on half the batteries. We're talking like 8 batteries. This is twice as many batteries, not recording that many videos a day. Batteries totally drained in 30 days. That's not cool at all. Now, I don't know how much of this is impacted by the cellular service not being great. I don't know if when it's trying to transmit the videos that it's taking more juice because it's got a crappy connection, but I don't know. So I ended up moving one of my other cameras, the one that I was barely getting any videos, because I didn't place it on an actual game trail. I placed it in an area where I seen animals, some big bucks show up in the past, but I moved it because I just wasn't hardly getting anything, and I wanted to get more footage. And I moved it about 100 yards away from where I initially had it set up, and it was not able to connect to the cellular network in this area. And then I was moving it all over the place in this general area where I have some really heavy game trails and I get constant activity. It would not connect. I was standing there for probably 15 minutes waiting for the connecting blinker to stop blinking, and it just never did. So I was like, you know what? I got things to do. I want to just capture some video. And my assumption was that, so it wasn't connecting to the wireless network at the time, but maybe it eventually would. Maybe there was just something going on, something temporarily blocking the satellites or whatever. Because this happened to be the exact same spot where I had my Reveal Tacticam camera last year and didn't have issues, at least not this kind of issue. That's where I was getting a strong signal from before. And so I left. And that night and then the next day, I wasn't getting any photos or any videos transmitted at all. And I know that, hey, I was standing in front of the camera for a while. There should have been some videos taken of me. Then I noticed that the device, after a few days, the device just wasn't checking in, which meant, it never ended up connecting to the cellular network. So I was a bit frustrated about that. And I was concerned that, okay, this constant checking for the network is probably going to drain the batteries. And I should say that at the beginning, when I moved the camera to this particular location, it still was reporting 95% battery power. And this was last weekend, about a week ago. And then when I was finally able to come back to my spot here a week later, this past weekend, I noticed that the battery indicator was showing just 1 bar. So my theory that, the battery got drained trying to search for a network for a week was correct. But I'm like, well, I'm hoping at least, I was recording videos and stuff during that time, and that when I get the camera back home and put some new batteries in it, it will be able to quickly connect to the network and then it'll transmit those videos. Well, that is not the case. No videos were transmitted when it came back on, and I waited a good 24-hour period, let it go through like 4 different check-in cycles, and it gave me no videos. So then I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I took a test video of myself with it and then waited till the next check-in period, and then that video transmitted. So what that told me was that the cameras will not take any videos unless it's connected to the cellular network. So if you're having cellular network trouble, this camera is absolutely useless. You cannot take pictures or videos on it unless you're connected to a cellular network, which means you have to have a data plan or else this camera is absolutely useless. And furthermore, one thing that I really wish that I had paid attention to before I bought these cameras was the fact that, I knew the cameras had internal storage. Well, I thought it just meant that you didn't have to use a memory card. I didn't realize that you can't use a memory card. There is no memory card slot. You are forced to use the internal storage. To make matters worse is they do not provide any way to connect a USB cord cable or anything to the device so that you can pull files off of the camera. And additionally, there is no Bluetooth capability as well. So you are absolutely 100% stuck as far as getting your pictures off, having to go through the mobile network using a data plan and being tied down by the amount of photos and videos that you can retrieve through your plan. So I pretty much always use my cameras just for videos, because still pictures generally don't tell the full story. Like a lot of times I'll get bucks that'll come in view, and it sometimes snaps the picture of them when they're like not in the best position or something. Videos, I really prefer videos. Now was currently just using the basic plan, which was $10 a month per camera. So we're talking $20 a month for the 2 cameras, just so that I could get 10 pictures or 10 videos off of each camera per month, which is barely anything. So I was basically just going to, at least at first, just only retrieve the videos that look like they were significant. Like if it looked like it was a video of a really nice animal, then I would retrieve it. And if I found out that I was needing more, then I would upgrade my plan. So with all of these issues combined, given the terrible connectivity, the fact that the batteries were being drained extremely fast, and the fact that there was no possible way for me to retrieve any photos or videos off the camera unless I'm going through the service plan and then essentially I'm paying for each download. I mean, paying $10 a month for 10 video downloads a month, so it's $1 a video I have to pay. I think that's just the fact that they make it so you cannot get the content off your camera unless you're using a service plan and only being able to retrieve it through the application is absolutely ludicrous in my mind. And I wish that I had paid closer attention to this when I was purchasing the cameras. I have never had a camera that didn't allow me to get photos off of it, like, either through a memory card or a USB cable or something. I just made the stupid assumption that I'd be able to do that with this camera. But no, you are 100% locked into having to use the app, having to have a service plan to be able to even get any content off your camera. So what does that mean for me? I just wasted $256 for a test. These cameras are not going back in the woods because too many problems. I'm not going to continue to pay all this money for these batteries that are going to drain like they do, and then being forced to pay additional money to get every little piece of content off my camera that I want. There's no way to transfer that data off my camera without paying money. Absolutely a deal breaker, and I am kicking myself for having not done my due diligence to pay closer attention to this before I purchased. Now I know that they do make a solar panel for these cameras, but based on what my experience with the camera itself, I am not about to throw another $100 into each of these cameras, hoping that the solar panels will do the job. Because based on some reviews I've seen on the solar panels, I'm not seeing excellent reviews on those. I'm seeing good and bad. And the last thing I need is to have already sunk $256 into these cameras, just to sink another $200 into solar panels that may not actually do the job for me. Very, very frustrating. So the bottom line here is that this, like I said, the pictures and audio, very good, high quality. But if you're thinking about getting this camera, I would absolutely make sure that you're using these cameras in a proven area where you get really good cellular service. And because my experiences with roaming, make sure you're getting good cellular service and not using roaming. I'm not 100% sure if that was one of my root problems, but certainly I wouldn't get this unless you know for sure you have really good cell service where you're going to be using these cameras. And if you are going to be recording lots of HD videos, if you're doing what I prefer to do, be prepared to go through a lot of batteries. Like I said, these cameras take 16 AA batteries, which is the most I've ever had to use in the camera. And for the life I got of those batteries in this camera, a complete joke, if you ask me. Again, that could have been because my cellular network was weak. I don't know if that had anything to do with my batteries just not performing well. And I want to say that I'm using, the best Energizer, non-lithium. I'm not using lithium, I'm using regular batteries, but I'm using Energizer. I'm not using these generic batteries that typically don't last. And finally, be sure to fully understand that there is absolutely no way to get any content off of your camera unless you're requesting them through the mobile app. And it means you have to have a service plan. If you're not connecting to your service, it's not going to take any videos or pictures based on my experience. It's just not going to do anything for you. So this camera is a paperweight unless you're paying for the service, and you're not getting anything off your camera unless you're paying for the service to retrieve them. So if you want to get a lot of videos off your camera, you better get the big plan, and I don't even know what that costs. It might even be $30, I'm not sure, but I'm paying the cheapest right now I could, $10 a camera. That only gives me 10 videos to download. not cool. So bottom line for me, these things are now paperweights, and these were the very first Moultrie products I ever purchased, and I have no intention of purchasing anything more. I wasn't happy with my Reveal Tacticam camera last year, and you can watch that video that I have on my channel as well to see why I wasn't happy with that. But I would take that camera back over these any day. Even though I was having issues with that particular camera at one point in time with the transmitting videos and photos, it was at least usable to where if it wasn't able to transmit, I could still get my content. It would still take pictures and videos, and I could still get the content off the camera. Yeah, very, very disappointed in this camera. I don't know if the Edge 3 is out yet and if they've made these improvements, but unless you're prepared to embrace the problems that I mentioned, I would stay clear of the Edge 2 Pro. So, those are my 2 cents, and until next time, have a great one, guys.